9.4's Math Moment. Today in 6th grade, students work on integers and a coordinate plane. Now before we jump into our questions today, I want to do a little discussion about the different quadrants that students have been exposed to from previous years in math, but also the new ones that they learned about today in 6th grade. So a few things to be keeping in mind. Students are very familiar with quadrant 1 as it's a review from 4th and 5th grade, and they know that quadrant 1, we have our x-axis and our y-axis. X is going to be the horizontal and Y is going to be the vertical. Now they're very familiar with quadrant 1 because they are both positive numbers. As you notice, I've got positive numbers on my X and positive numbers on my Y. So in this case, we are dealing with positive numbers with both of our coordinate items here. When we go into quadrant 2, as we look at the X, we see we've got negative numbers. And then when we go into our Y, going vertically, we see that we've got positive numbers. Moving into quadrant 3, we're going to see that we've got negative numbers going across our X, and then our Y is going to be negative as well. With quadrant 4, we're going to have positive numbers going on our X, and then our Y going down is going to give us a negative number. So it's really important that students really carefully think about where they're going to be plotting their points and thinking about, is it going to be two positives, two negatives, a negative and a positive. In these cases, thinking about which number is going to be negative, is it going to be the first number or the second number. That's going to help them as they're working on these questions today. Let's go ahead and look at example number 1. The sides of the coordinates of an ordered pair are negative and negative. Which quadrant would the point be located at? So as I kind of did my example to get us started today, we did a little pre of example 1. When I have the negative and the negative, we see that our negative for our X and our negative for our Y is going to be in quadrant 3. Now for number 2, students worked today a lot about plotting points on the coordinate plane. So I'm going to work on plotting some points right now. We've got point J, which is at -2, +4. So one of the things we always tell students is to go over and then up. So I'm going to go over 2, up 4. This is going to be point J. When I look at point C, I'm going to go a +2, -5. So I'm going to go over on my X, and then on my Y, in this case, I'm going to go down to -5. This is going to be point C. When I look at point E, I've got a -1 and a -4. So I'm going to go over on my x-axis 1, and then I'm going to go down 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's going to give me my point E. And then point T is 4, 3. So I'm going to go over 4, up 3, and that is going to be point T. It's going to be really important as your students working today, having them very carefully look at these numbers and making sure that they always use the X first and then go to their Y axis. It might be helpful if students even mark the X and Y as they're going, and they might even want to mark X, Y, to make sure that they're very carefully working their way through the different quadrants today. Now point A is our last question, and it's asking where it is located. Again, I'm going to use my x-axis first, so I'm going to be at -3, and then I'm going to go up 2. So point A is located at -3, 2, which puts it in quadrant 2. If you have any questions about today's math lesson, make sure you see your math teacher.